Guys, please like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you like Florida State or NC State. Okay, both teams are coming off their first losses. Now, I've already picked NC State to beat Florida State, but of course, according to the title, it's just a case and scenario video on how I think Florida State could win this game if they do. So fans look at my stuff on my YouTube channel, and then they watch the actual game, and Florida State messes around and wins this game and say, oh, well, when you look at it from that perspective, it makes sense, I guess. Excuse me, here we go. Florida State defensively has got to get some pressure on Devin Leary. Clemson did a great job of that. Now, I know Florida State's defense does not have the athletes that Clemson does defensively, and they will not have a home field advantage, but it's still a pretty good defense. Any defense that can hold Wake Forest to 31 points and a missed field goal has to be pretty good. Not elite, but pretty good. Number two, I've saw it with NC State all season, but it really showed up last night. Devin Leary has had guys open, or hasn't quite been very accurate, and he's had guys drop passes or balls were tipped up in the air, like how Clemson got that one interception off of NC State. That's why. So I imagine that's not going to be completely fixed in this game. I think it'll be worked on to where they beat FSU with a better catching game. But if FSU wins, a big part of that will be because of tip passes that are dropped or tipped in the air because the receiver doesn't quite catch onto it. And Florida State defensively has had interceptions this season. I think they've had 4 or 5, 6 maybe. I don't know. So they're going to have to capitalize on that and get at least 1 or 2 picks off of that alone. Another thing Florida State needs to do offensively is eat up the clock. That's something they did very well against LSU back in week 1 a month ago. I don't know why they didn't do it with Wake Forest. They would have had a better chance. They left 5-10 seconds on the play clock. You need to leave it down like maybe 5 or less to beat NC State, to wear out NC State's defense. NC State, even though they lost to Clemson, they do have a really, really good front seven. I don't think Florida State's going to be able to manhandle them up front. I do think they can do enough to hold it off to where they don't give up a lot of sacks or a lot of big plays in the backfield for NC State. I know Jordan Travis is a much more athletic quarterback than DJ, so he'll be able to evade some sacks that they could give up in this game. The run game. Clemson didn't really run the football very well until the end of the game when NC State's defense got tired and Clemson was able to pull away at home. I keep emphasizing that home game. NC State's going to be at home. They haven't really had a good running game all year either, but if Florida State can neutralize it and hold, they're going to take advantage of Florida State's run defense, given how Wake Forest ran the football. Remember, I think Wake Forest has the best offensive line in the ACC, if not one of the top 5 best in the country. I know NC State does not have that. So it's a good offensive line, but I don't think it's as good as Wake. Okay, and remember, that was the first half of the FSU game where they ran a lot. They didn't do as much, nowhere near as much in the second half. I don't think NC State's going to have, if they can hold NC State a fair amount, 70, 80 yards rushing and keep it in check in the red zone, they have a chance to beat NC State. Florida State has got to take deep shots down the field. Clemson was able to do it. DJ was able to take advantage of that pretty well. Just not well enough to really run over NC State until they pulled away. You know who's pretty good at deep shots? Jordan Travis. He's always had that, even when he wasn't very good in 2020. He's gotten better. So Johnny Wilson, Murray, Micah Pittman, whatever his name is. You got Ontario Wilson, who's always a deep threat. Cameron McDonald, the tight end. You got to utilize those guys and make sure that Travis has time, which he will have enough time to go down the field and throw at least 5 to 6 times in this game, maybe 7 or 8. Your kicking game has got to get better. I know Florida State will probably miss field goals in this game, at least 1, if not 2. If they can make at least 1 or 2 and give their kicker somewhat confidence at NC State, they can win this game. Florida State, if they and this is without Jared Verse. If Jared Verse doesn't play, he probably will, but I know he's not going to be 100% for the NC State game. This is, let's say he doesn't play. I think Florida State is good enough to hold NC State to 4 touchdowns in this game at NC State. Can Florida State get 31 points? Yeah. If they can force turnovers against NC State, again, take advantage of the tip passes, take advantage of the fact that they don't run the football very well normally. You know NC State's going to challenge that because Florida State's defensive front is not Clemson's. So they'll probably have more success running against FSU than they did against Clemson. But I still don't think it's going to be enough to get like 120, 30 yards like Wake Forest did. So I would just play a clean game for Florida State, control the football against NC State, and defensively force turnovers. At least 2 to 3 turnovers, at least. If they can do that and hold NC State to field goals in the red zone. Clemson did a great job of neutralizing NC State's offense because NC State had good drives moving the ball. They just didn't score touchdowns. Florida State has to do that too. I don't think they can hold them to 1 touchdown. I think they're good enough to hold them at least 2 or 3 touchdowns and a lot of field goal attempts. This is possible. So if Florida State wins the game, this is why. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did beat NC State because they got a lot of problems on offense. But NC State should win simply because I think they're the better team and they'll be at home in this game.